IVMI or Immersive Virtual Musical Instrument is a kind of digital musical instrument or DMI that is displayed through virtual, augmented or mixed reality systems. IVMIs remove some of the physical constraints of real instruments such as their size or weight. IVMIs provide freedom of design choice that can impact user experience through fatigability, difficulty, engagement, musical expressiveness, resolution of musical controls and transparency for the audience. That's why interaction area, user interfaces and gestures have to be carefully chosen. Here we will focus on virtual reality IVMIs. VR gives access to visual immersion that allows illusions such as redirected walking or manipulation and visio-haptic illusions. These illusions are generally produced by using variations on controlled display ratio. With CDR above 1, gestures are amplified compared to visual feedback and vice versa for CDR below 1. To our knowledge, no research has been conducted on the use of CDR in IVMIs. That is why we conducted a user study to evaluate the effect of CDR on presence, perceived arm fatigue and musical expression in an IVMI. In particular, we are interested in determining how these aspects would be impacted by variations between the visually perceived gestures and the physically performed gestures. The IVMI that we use corresponds to a cubic virtual interaction zone containing 6 markers corresponding to audio tracks. When users move the dominant hand inside the cube, the virtual cursor associated with their hand movement will allow the mixing of these audio tracks. Here is a short extrait of the experimental setup. We are studying 6 conditions in which the CDR varies depending on the factors of visual size and gestural size. We evaluate through questionnaires the presence, perceived fatigue, musical expressiveness, and we capture the distance traveled by the user's hand. After running analysis, we found statistically significant differences through the conditions on the sense of presence, the perception of the input complexity, and the distance covered by the user's hand. We found a greater sense of presence for a medium reduction of gesture size compared to a greater reduction or to a medium augmentation of gesture size. We found a greater input complexity for a large reduction of gesture size compared to a medium reduction or to no modification of CDR. And also the input complexity is greater for a large augmentation of gesture size compared to no modification of CDR. We found that a great change on the CDR on reduction or amplification will produce less distance covered by hand than no change in CDR. In addition, we found a moderate correlation between perceived fatigue and distance covered by the hands. Also, the greater the CDR change, the less the fatigue and distance are correlated, but for our purpose correlations stayed moderate. From our results we could believe that a moderate reduction of gesture size could lead to stronger sense of presence. A moderate augmentation of gesture size could be used as alternative to stretching virtual controls in order to increase the accuracy of musical controls while preventing an increase in complexity. And a longer session of interaction could lead to differences in terms of fatigue between the variations of CDR as it did with the distance. To conclude this short presentation, we wanted to propose an example of interaction sequence within a redirected virtual musical environment in which 2 zones of interactions are defined with different CDRs, which could be used to allow users to choose whether they want certain sounds to be controlled with reduced and more precise gestures or with amplified and more engaging gestures.